15 disturbing hidden images in Disney movies. We all have a favorite Disney Channel movie, the one that we used to see again and again and again. But after repeating them so many times, did you notice something strange? There are some dark and polemic references that the children can't notice, but we can. Here we have those curiosities. Pinocchio. Who doesn't remember the playful and sweet Geppetto?
You are a real boy.
This movie premiered in 1940 and is based on the book The Adventures of Pinocchio, written by Carlo Collodi in Italy. The scary part begins when Pinocchio and a group of kids are taken to an island where they can have all the fun they want, even drink alcohol and smoke cigarettes. But everything was a trick. The kids become donkeys, are jailed, and sold to salt mines. This was a reference of the raw truth about kidnapping, children exploitation, and traffic of minors. If we think about it, this sad reality still exists all around the world. Luckily, Pinocchio could escape thanks to his loyal friend Jiminy Cricket. Beauty and the Beast. Have you ever wondered how it's possible for someone to fall in love with an ugly, disgusting, and angry beast? Well, Belle really wasn't in love, but had something called Stockholm Syndrome. This is a psychological reaction when a kidnapping victim develops a complicated and strong relationship with the captor. Also, we can say that the members of the castle pressured Belle so she could accept staying with the beast for everybody's wellness. Poor Belle had to sacrifice herself for Lumiere, Din Don, and Chip, falling in love with a beast while it was still that monster. Zootopia. This comedy-adventure American movie stars animals with human behavior. Judy Hopps, the police bunny, is solving a case. In a city where the prey and hunters have lived in a harmonious way, predators are becoming savages and violent without any explanation. When looking for answers, she finds a laboratory where an evil sheep is making a chemical process which had a blue product as a result. This is a clear reference of a synthetic drug lab and the chemical process used there. Also, the blue coloration of the product reminds us of blue crystals, which means it had a high purity. The substance is known for generating hallucinations, paranoia, and altering the human behavior. As we've seen on TV, there have been violent behavior and attacks associated to its consumption. Without a doubt, a delicate subject for a kids' movie. Dumbo. We all remember the sweet Dumbo. First, he was taken away from his mother. Then, he faced his fears with his mouse friend and learned to fly with his ears. But we also saw him accidentally drinking alcohol and being overwhelmed by shiny fuchsia spectra with the shape of elephants that sing and dance in a strange and confusing way. Do you wonder what Dumbo experiences in this situation? Actually, kids shouldn't live something like that or even know that these kind of hallucinations exist. Also, these images are associated with the consumption of potent hallucinogens, don't you think? Hunchback of Notre Dame. This animation is an adaptation of the French book Notre Señora de Paris, written by Victor Hugo, who's considered one of the most important writers from France. This movie begins in a tragic way when the evil judge Claude Frollo kills the mother of a peculiar baby, Quasimodo. Frollo thought about drowning the baby, but was later convinced to keep him and raise him in the bell tower of the Notre Dame Cathedral in Paris so no one could ever see his ugly appearance. During the movie, we can see the internal fight of Claude Frollo against the temptation of possessing the beautiful gypsy Esmeralda. In the musical piece called Internal Fire, we can see a figure that represents Esmeralda dancing in a sexy way. Frollo shows he's sexually attracted to Esmeralda, something kids shouldn't be able to understand and an inappropriate subject for the audience. The Little Mermaid. This kids' movie from 1989 is an adaptation of the book with the same name written by Hans Christian Andersen. Ariel, the naughty and innocent protagonist, was able to make a deal with Ursula, the evil sea witch. lose her voice, be left behind by her family, and lose her mermaid tail. All just because of an impossible love. Ursula convinces her that with her beauty, cute face, and body, she can make anyone fall in love. Ariel accepted the price, giving up her voice and becoming a human. We think about what this really means because after everything she did, disobeying her father and leaving her identity behind, Ariel ends up staying with his loved Eric. Is it necessary to change yourself to make someone else fall in love? Aladdin. This movie was also pointed for its content since it promotes discrimination and xenophobia in some of its songs, and shows the main character in some uncomfortable situations for the parents watching it with their children. For example, during the first movie, Aladdin arrives to a place where he finds a lot of different women with colorful clothes dancing in a provocative way, who seem to be very close to him. Without a doubt, this represents a date house in a manner of speaking. It's really concerning that a place like this is referenced in a movie like this. Hercules. This animated movie premiered in 1997 and was inspired by the Greek mythology of Hercules, Zeus's son. But it doesn't only reference this story, it also mentions the Greek tragedy written by Sophocles, Oedipus, where Oedipus killed his dad and had an incestuous relationship with his mother. However, this reference is really dark because when Hercules and Megara get out of the theater, he makes a joke saying, "I thought I had problems," making fun of the situation and laughing about something so tragic.
I thought I had problems.
Alice in Wonderland. In Alice's travels looking for the White Rabbit, she meets weird characters and strange situations. A lot of times, to continue her way, she has to consume unknown elements or unidentified substances. For example, some cookie or a bottle with a message, "Drink me." Taking them made her experience weird things such as reducing and growing her size, besides crying disconsolately. Although at the end she could go through the little door, in some scenes we can see the excessive consumption of sugar and a smoking caterpillar. Everything refers to the consumption of substances that might take you to interesting and exciting situations with hallucinations. Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. The most well-known version is the one from the Grimm brothers, where the Disney movie is based on. Snow White is a princess but treated as a plebeian by her evil stepmother. Because of this twisted jealousness, Snow White has to go away to save her life and faces death more than once. During almost the entire movie, she's in danger. For example, when she gets into the forest and finds scary creatures that watch her, want to attack her and harass her. The trees had fingers and they tried to take all her clothes out. A scary experience for anyone. Peter Pan. This character was created by the Scottish writer James Matthew Barrie for a theater play called Peter Pano, or The Boy Who Wouldn't Grow Up, or Peter and Wendy in 1904. During Wendy's visit to the island of Neverland, she meets the mermaids, Peter's friends, who are more than interested in him. When they saw her, the mermaids get angry and start pulling her and harass Wendy. At first glance, it might look like a girl fight, but what the mermaids actually wanted was to disappear her from the situation because of their twisted jealousness. They wanted to drown her. What's scarier is that Peter thought everything was funny and did nothing to avoid the situation. Tarzan. Almost at the end of this movie, premiered in 1999, Tarzan and Kerchak, his gorilla friend, fight against Clayton, the main villain. When the gorilla receives a shot, Tarzan follows Clayton through the dark and scary jungle. During the fight, Clayton, full of anger, doesn't realize a liana is around his neck and falls to an instant death. In this scene, we can see the shadow of Clayton's body, which is reflected by the light of the thunders. There's a lot of kids that don't even realize about his death. Without a doubt, raw evidence. Mulan. This film is based on the Chinese legend of Hua Mulan, who was a woman who, disguised as a warrior, joined a male army. The villain of this movie is Shan Yu, the leader of the Who Knows, who was a cruel and bloody character. In a scene, he decides to send a message to the Emperor through two Imperial spies who were prisoners. However, when he sees them go, he asks how many people it takes to send a message. When they answer that just one man is needed, the archer gets ready to throw an arrow. Despite that you can't see the murder of one of the Imperial spies, we know it. Something really disturbing and raw. What's worse is that immediately, the plot continues with a fun scene of Mulan talking to her horse. Really convenient, right? Fantasia. This 40s movie consisted in 8 musical animated segments, and it's known as a classic animated movie. One of these fragments, called the Pastoral Symphony, is musicalized by the Symphony No. 9 from Beethoven. In this one, we can see the gods and creatures from the Greek-Roman mythology, such as males and female centaurs that are getting ready to get intimate. We can see a clear representation of racism since one of the little centaurs, which has dark skin, is in charge of filing the hooves of a blonde female centaur, showing one of the more criticized stereotypes in Disney's history. Such was the controversy that generated edited versions where this scene is no longer seen. The Great Mouse Detective. This animated film premiered in 1986 and is set in the Victorian time in London. The story talks about the struggle of the mouse detective Basil, who is the rodent version of Sherlock Holmes, against the evil Professor Ratigan. This movie was a financial success, but was criticized because the story had dark and obscure aspects to be assimilated by the kids. The most scandalous scene is when one of the female rodents dances in a sexy way, arousing the rest of the mice. This is really shocking in a movie for kids. As you've seen, these images aren't as cute as their protagonists. Maybe the writers did this on purpose or didn't realize this was happening. What do you think? See you in the next edition of Trendmax.